Hello, mic testing 1, 2, 3. Hello, mic testing 1, 2, 3.
Who is not there today? Hey, charger. Hey, mask. Who? It is not there.
My esteemed sister and brother judges, Shri Anil Singh, Additional Solicitor General, Dr. Uday P. Waranjikar, Member Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa, Shri Nitin Thakkar, President Bombay Bar Association, Shri Nitin V. Gangal, Vice President Advocates Association of Western India, Shri Kaiwan Kalyaniwala, President Bombay Incorporated Law Society, esteemed senior advocates and other learned members of the bar, bereaved members of the Parikh family, members of the registry and the staff, ladies and gentlemen. We have gathered this morning to pay homage to late Dhirendra S. Parikh, an eminent senior advocate of the Bombay High Court, who left for his heavenly abode on 28th January 2022 at the age of 94 years. Though Shri Parikh is not amongst us now, he will be remembered for the status and reputation that he had achieved in the legal profession and remain an inspiration for the future generation. Shri Parikh was born on 23rd December 1927. He did his schooling from St. Anandilal Poddar High School and completed his college education from R.A. Poddar College, Bombay. Having obtained his bachelor's degree in law from the Government Law College, Bombay, Shri Parikh began his practice as a junior lawyer. He had the occasion to be associated with the chambers of great legal luminaries like Shri Bhai Shankar Kanga and Shri Githal Lal. Shri Parikh had a flourishing practice at both the Bombay High Court as also various district courts. He had appeared in many trials at the Bombay City Civil Court and in due course of time attained the reputation as the uncrowned king of the Bombay City Civil Court. As a mark of recognition of his competence and ability, Shri Parikh was ultimately designated as senior advocate by the Bombay High Court on 3rd October 1981. He was particularly known for his deft handling of cases and skillful advocacy, which received due appreciation of the courts and ultimate contentment of his clients. Shri Parikh was an excellent and most sought-after arbitrator. He was also at the forefront of the mediation process from its inception at the Bombay High Court. He was actively involved in the discussions on and framing of India's first Mediation Bill 2021, which has been referred to a parliamentary committee on 15 December 2021. He promoted the concept of neutral evaluator in mediation. I have gathered that Sri Parikh's talks were very inspiring, clear and simple. He always used to advise to first think about mediation for resolution of any dispute. In fact, he believed in active participation in mediation by anyone instead of giving suggestions. Such was his commitment towards mediation that even during the last 10 years of his life, Sri Parikh was proactively involved in mediation as a method of alternative dispute resolution. He was also involved in formation of the Association of Mediation Practitioners and was also its president. His passion for legal profession was such that he continued to attend his chambers, provide legal advice, and act as an arbitrator till he breathed his last. With his decades of successful practice, Sri Parikh had trained over 20 advocates who are now well established in their professional lives. Beyond the legal profession, Sri Parikh was very fond of reading. He had a huge collection of books on varied subjects. He was a passionate traveler. He was an avid listener of Indian classical music and had a great collection of songs. He was also a regular practitioner of yoga throughout his life. Sri Parikh is survived by his 3 children. His son, namely Sri Ketan Parikh, is a senior advocate at the Bombay High Court with a successful practice of law. The other 2 children, namely Sri Chetan Parikh and Srimati Alka Parikh, are highly qualified and well settled in their respective lives. On behalf of my esteemed colleagues and on my personal behalf, I convey deepest condolences to the members of the bereaved family. I pray that the Almighty give them the strength to bear the irreplaceable loss, and also pray that the noble soul of Sri Parikh attains Sadgati. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Chief Justice, honorable judges of this court, Sri Uday Varanjikar, on behalf of the Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa, Sri Nitin Thakkar, President of the Bombay Bar Association, Sri Dangal, on behalf of the Advocate Association of Western India, President of the Bombay Incorporated Law Society, Sri Kalyaniwal, family members of late Sri D.S. Parikh, members of the registry, members of the bar, ladies and gentlemen. We have all gathered here this morning to pay respectful homage and to cherish the life of late Shri D.S. Parikh, who left for his heavenly abode on 28th of January 2022 at the age of 94 and in his 73rd year of practice. The demise of Shri Parikh has deprived the society of a noble soul. Shri Parikh was a jurist, a great human being, full of efficiency and sincerity, which distinguishes him from many others and elevates him to a higher pedestal in his human approach. The early life of Shri D.S. Parikh was very eventful. I am told that during his student years, he was greatly influenced by Gandhian ideology and often read writing and speeches of Mahatma Gandhi. Books authored by Mahatma Gandhi and Mahadev Bhai Desai, who was the freedom fighter and personal secretary of Mahatma Gandhi, had a big role to play in shaping his life and philosophy. Shri Parikh always had a spiritual bent of mind from early days. Throughout his life, he was a regular practitioner of yoga. I am also told that on a visit to Rishikesh in his young days, he was so influenced by a sage that he expressed a desire to renounce the world and take sannyas. The wise sage advised him that the true sannyas is to be able to remain detached while living in samsara. Shri Parikh abided by these words. As an advocate, Shri Parikh always held the law in the highest regard and took every bit of efforts for his clients with humility and diligence, and also ensured that the rule of law prevailed under all circumstances. Shri Parikh was held in high regards by the judges of the City Court and even of this court. Shri Parikh was a front runner even in the field of arts and trade a musical instrument called Dilruba. He was an avid listener of Indian classical music. His post-dinner reading of brief would always be accompanied by an Indian classical music playing in the background. Shri Parikh was also very fond of reading. His collection of books on varied subjects covered an entire wall of a bedroom from floor to ceiling. Shri Parikh's professional life is well known. His practice was always flourishing both in the High Court and the Citizen Court at Bombay. In fact, he was known as uncrowned king as mentioned by the Honorable Chief Justice and was at that time a highest paid lawyer in the Citizen Court. Interestingly, Shri Parikh was a close friend of my father and they both started practice almost at the same time. When I started my practice in the City Court somewhere in the 1980, I used to sit on the same table for lunch as he. I remember him having a controlled diet and measured portion of food during each meal. Professionally, Shri Parikh had led a very disciplined life. I recollect that during 1980s, there were barely 4 senior lawyers who were well known and had a flourishing practice in the City Court. That is late Shri P.K. Pandit, late Shri Dinesh Gandhi, late Shri Milind Sakandandi and Shri Parikh himself. I have personally worked with him in several matters and I remember him being extremely meticulous in his work. He used to be updated with latest law and extremely thorough with the facts of each case with every minute details. Shri Parikh had appeared in a host of important matters which are reported in the Law Journal, which I am not referring here. Shri Parikh was known for his soft, mellow, yet firm arguments. He always treated his opponent with respect. He always used to make attempt to settle the matters, perhaps consequently. Mediation came naturally to him. For last about many years, Shri Parikh was actively involved in promoting mediation as a method of dispute resolution. He was involved in founding the Association of Mediation Practitioners and was a president. He took active role in offering comments on the draft mediation bill circulated by the government. I recollect somewhere in the year 2011 and 12 when I was the chairman of the Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa, and Justice Khanvilkar was the in charge of mediation program in the state of Maharashtra. On a number of occasions, we had an interaction and meeting with Shri Parikh, and Shri Parikh used to give valuable suggestions to promote mediation program in the state of Maharashtra, which had really helped us a lot in promoting the mediation program. Shri Parikh never retired. He continued to attend chambers and give legal advice and act as an arbitrator till his last breath. Shri Parikh is survived by his wife Sudha Parikh, who is a homemaker, and his 2 able sons, Ketan Parikh, a dear friend of mine and also a batchmate from Government Law College, a senior advocate practicing in the field of arbitration. His second son, Shri Chetan Parikh, who has been a professor, and his daughter, Alka Parikh, is also a professor in the field of development economics. Shri Parikh was a true believer of work is worship and stayed true to his profession till the last day. He will be truly missed by the judges and the lawyers alike. His demise is not only a personal loss to me, but a loss to the nation and the legal fraternity. I offer my deepest condolence to his family and pray that he may rest in peace.
Honorable Chief Justice and the other honorable judges of the Mumbai High Court, Sri Anil C. Singh, Additional Solicitor General of India, Sri Nitin Thakkar, President Bombay Bar Association, Sri Nitin Gangal, Vice President of Advocate Association of Western India, Mr. Kalyaniwala, President of Incorporated Law Society, brothers and sisters, lawyers, everybody present in this full court reference. Sir, on behalf of Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa, I fully associate myself with the feeling expressed by the Honorable Chief Justice and the earlier speakers. On behalf of 209,000 lawyers, Chairman, Vice Chairman, and all elected members of the Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa, I respectfully pay homage to late D.S. Parikh. We have lost a veteran lawyer who practiced for 73 long years. He was active even in his last month also. At the age of 21, Sri D.S. Parikh enrolled as an advocate. A first-generation lawyer joined the chamber of Bhaishankar, Kanga and Girdarla. Very soon, he started his career in the City Civil Court. He was appointed as a government pleader in the City Civil and Sessions Court at Mumbai. He was specialized in the trials, and apart from that, he was seen in the High Court as well as the other courts also. I am fortunate that I have seen him in action. He was popularly known as DSP or Mamaji. He was known for his firm, polite, and submissive approach to the bench. I have not seen him raising his voice in the court. He was also known for maintaining high standards of the professional ethics. In the last few years, he has taken keen interest in the mediation. He guided the trainers of the mediation. He participated in large number of national level conferences on mediation. It was his idea to have a network of the mediators in India and have a directory of the mediators pan-India. He was elected as a president of Association of Mediators. He had offered his expert comments on the mediation bill as referred by the earlier two speakers. Even though he was a senior citizen, he was master of electronic gadgets. He was handling WhatsApp calls. He was attending Zoom. He was operating the Zoom. He was even using the legal Speechwell Dragon software also. He used to draft his own email. He used to enter into his own correspondence instead of relying on the secretarial services. Several lawyers, including the junior lawyers, remember his word of advice, which was given on multiple occasions. His soft voice, he used to talk with even the lawyers who are appearing for the opponent. His submissions in the court were meaningful, and the same were even appreciated by the several honorable judges, which has been reflected in the different reported judgments. In the online condolence meeting, Justice A.S. Sayyed, the senior most judge of Bombay High Court, had shared that he had seen D.S. Parikh active in the small causes court and the city civil court when Justice Sayyed used to attend the court with his father. He has been survived by his son Ketan Parikh, who is also a senior advocate designated by our High Court. D.S. Parikh left for heavenly abode on 28th of January 22. On account of his sad demise, we have lost a very good human being and a very good advocate. On behalf of Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa, as well as on behalf of the chairman, vice chairman, and all elected members of the Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa, I express our deep condolences to the family members of Senior Advocate D.S. Parikh. God give enough strength to the family members of late Advocate Parikh. Let his soul rest in the eternal peace. Om Shanti Shanti.
My Lord, the Honorable the Chief Justice, and the other honorable judges of this honorable court, Mr. Anil C. Singh, Additional Solicitor General of India, Dr. Uday Varunjikar, Member Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa, Mr. Nitin Kangal, the Vice President, Advocate Association of Western India, Mr. Kaivan Kalyaniwala, President, Incorporated Law Society, the senior advocates and other colleagues at the bar, the family members of Mr. D.S. Parikh, the Registrar General and other members of the High Court Administration, ladies and gentlemen. Try not to become a man of success, but rather try to become a man of value. So said Albert Einstein. Dhirubhai or Mama, as he was fondly called, not only believed in this, but he lived his life by imbibing this as his way of life. Success automatically followed. His success can be measured by his achievements and goals reached. At the ripe age of 94, he left us, but we should celebrate his life, remember his good deeds, and follow the path he charted for us. A very soft-spoken person. Even while arguing in courts, he will not raise his voice and would be soft but persuasive. His illustrious son Ketan, a senior advocate in his own right, shared an incident where the then sitting High Court judge was asked by his acquaintance to recommend the best lawyer for a matter in city civil court, the judge promptly suggested the name of Dhirubhai. After a few days, the acquaintance came back to the judge to seek another name. He explained that he had gone to city civil court to find out and observe performance of Dhirubhai, but found him to be very mild and soft, while the lawyer on the other side was loud, forceful, and aggressive. The lawyer on the other side was persuading the judge, but the High Court judge immediately asked his acquaintance, ultimately, who won the case? The answer was Mr. Parikh. The judge, the Dhirubhai's friends, jokingly said that he was so soft-spoken, the judge would never hear him, but he will still win the matters because the judge would think that if Mr. Parikh is arguing, he must be right. That was the reputation he enjoyed. After passing law, while joining profession, he was interviewed by partners of a leading law firm of that time. He answered all the questions satisfactorily in the interview, but softness of his voice was held against him, and he did not get the opening there. The loss of the law firm was gained for the advocates, who found a role model, the one who succeeded in the profession in spite of, or perhaps because of, being soft-spoken. He was very punctual. His routine was so time-bound that one could look at the clock and tell what he must be doing at that time. The neighbors would set their watches at 9 a.m. if they see Dhirubhai leaving for his office. He practiced yoga every day and had mastered difficult asanas like Mayurasana. He was hardworking and thorough. His advice to his son while doing law was not to join the morning batch of the college, but join the day batch. According to him, student days were the only days when one would have time to read the book from cover to cover and understand all the provisions. Because later on in the practice, one would only look for a particular proposition of law, and to do that, you should know the entire subject. He was well known for his fairness in court. He believed that his first duty is to court. He never hesitated in showing the authorities against him and would attempt to distinguish this. Similarly, he wanted the clients to disclose all the facts to him in advance. And if he found that his clients had concealed any facts from him, then he would return that brief. Lately, he became champion of mediation and alternate dispute resolution mode. The first mediation bill was sent to him for his comments, and he gave a long note making diverse suggestions. On 17 January, few days prior to his demise, Bombay Bar Association received from Select Committee a questionnaire relating to fresh mediation bill, which was to be replied in 3 days' time. I immediately called him to seek his advice and suggestions, and we spoke on phone at length. He mentioned about previous bill and told me that some of his suggestions were accepted by God while tabling fresh bill, but still the new bill required a lot of modifications. He emailed me his previous note, and he expressed his willingness to appear for the hearings, if any fixed by Joint Select Committee in future. At 94, he was fully alert and active. Alas, he was required at the hearing beyond this world. A friend of Dhirubhai very nicely summarized, which is the feeling of almost all those who knew him, what he took away from Dhirubhai's life. Absolute punctuality, honesty in everything you do, be sincere in your work, never make loose comments about anything or anyone, do not give unsolicited advice or suggestions, be positive and help others. He was truly a family man, revered by all, old and young. They see him as calm and composed, a man of few words, silent and serene, a source of inspiration and unconditional love. Dhirubhai, we will miss you, and the void left by you will be very hard to fill. I fully associate myself with the sentiments expressed by my Lord the Chief Justice and other previous speakers. On behalf of myself and all the members of Bombay Bar Association, we pay our respectful homage to Dhirubhai and wish that his family will continue to follow the path of righteousness shown by him. May his soul rest in peace.
My Lord the Chief Justice, Honorable Senior Judges of Bombay High Court, Shri Anil Singh, Additional Solicitor General of India, Shri Uday Varunjigar, Member of Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa, Shri Nitin Thakkar, President of Bombay Bar Association, Shri Kaivan Kalyaniwala, President of Incorporated Law Society, family member of Mr. Parekh, senior advocates and members of the bar. I resonate the sentiments expressed by the Honorable Mr. Chief Justice and my prior speakers. Sri D.S. Parekh, or fondly called as Mama, entered the bar at the age of 21 in the year 1949, when many of us were not even born. After entering the bar in 1949, Shri Parekh soon proved his legal acumen, which adequately compensated for his soft voice. He soon set extraordinarily high standards for integrity, professionalism, and kindness in his 7 decades of legal practice. Juniors were instructed to be present in the court while he was arguing to learn from his legal prowess and his courteousness towards the most acrimonious of the opponents. Shri D.S. Parekh practiced in Mumbai, mainly in City Civil Court and Bombay High Court. Not once ever did he compromise on his ethics in thought, word, or deed. I had a privilege of assisting him in one matter on transfer of property in the High Court, and I could not stop but watch him in admiration how he faced and dealt with several opponent counsels at ease. During his student years, he was influenced by the writings and speeches of Mahatma Gandhi. He authored books on Mahatma Gandhi. He was a spiritual person by heart, avid listener of Indian classical music, fond of reading, and an enthusiastic traveler. He was an early adopter of technology. Email and voice dictations were second nature to him, as were WhatsApp and Zoom calls. In his late 80s, he committed himself to bring about policies to help pass pending mediation bill. He was the president of Association of Mediation Practitioners. He took active role in offering comments on draft mediation bill circulated by the government. He hoped that there would be national register of mediators and national accreditation standards in mediation. Shri Parekh was born in 1927 and left for heavenly abode in 2022. In a span of almost a century, he never retired. He was always a benefactor. In his last days, he gave free legal advice to whomsoever concerned and truly lived a full, meaningful life. On behalf of Advocates Association of Western India, I extend my deepest condolences to his family members and his entire Gurukul. His legacy is indeed continued by his competent children and juniors. In him, we have lost an institution of ethics and compassion in legal field. Bhavapurna Shraddhanjali.
My Lord the Chief Justice, Honorable Judges of the Bombay High Court, Mr. Singh, Additional Solicitor General, Mr. Varunjigar, Member of the Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa, Mr. Thakkar, President of the Bombay Bar Association, and Mr. Gangal, Vice President of the Advocates Association of Western India. I have the honor, albeit sadly, to address this reference as President of the Bombay Incorporated Law Society, on whose behalf I express condolences on the demise of Shri Tharendra Parekh. His practice of the law commenced in 1949 and spread over a mammoth period of over 72 years. Having seen the glory days of the courts in the early independence years, to the tumultuous 70s of the emergency era, and finally to present times, when lawyers prefer citing case laws before referring to the law itself, Dhirubhai saw it all and successfully stood his ground as one of Bombay High Court's most competent lawyers. Much has already been spoken in praise of the man Mr. Parekh was. Even so, that would not be enough. Dhirubhai epitomized a gentleman lawyer. I had the pleasure of briefing Mr. Parekh on several occasions. His ability to quickly grasp key issues made an instructing attorney's task much easier. I have never seen Mr. Parekh raise his voice, whether in court or in conferences. Having said that, Dhirubhai conveyed his message across with firmness and certainty. His manner of advocacy was ramrod straight. He did not mince words. He did not bowl the proverbial googly. Dhirubhai was an opponent you would be proud to argue against, or as a court to hear his crisp arguments. Mr. Parikh had a distinguished career as senior counsel of this court and of the City Civil Court. He involved himself in pro bono matters and social causes, but it was the cause of mediation that was most dear to him. In fact, he was one of the first proponents of the mediation process, and we are thankful to him for developing the process of mediation in our courts. The likes of Mr. Parikh, who stood tall amongst his peers, will always be remembered. We will all miss his gentle presence. I convey our heartfelt condolences to his son Ketan and the members of his family. May the departed soul rest in peace.
As a mark of respect to the departed soul, we shall all rise now and observe a minute's silence. Judicial proceedings shall commence as per schedule.
So,